Hi, everyone. I'm Rena Nine, and Tanya Rivera will join me in just a moment. We begin with the Florida recount, where Palm Beach County did not meet today's 3 p.m. deadline for the state's races for governor, Senate, and agriculture commissioner. Florida's third largest county was the only county to miss the cutoff. Incumbent Democratic Senator Bill Nelson had won Palm Beach County by nearly 100,000 votes before the recount. Well, in a statement released just after the deadline passed, Nelson's challenger, Republican Governor Rick Scott, reiterated his claim to victory. He called on the state to put the election behind them and asked Senator Nelson to bring the process to an end. Correspondent Jim DeFede. Jim, we know that Palm Beach County missed their deadline. Can you sort of step back for a second and explain exactly why it is that they were the only county?
So a couple of things. Mainly it was technical issues. The machines literally overheated during the process of the recount. They have old machines. They have scheduled to try to buy new ones for future elections. But right now they're dealing with outdated equipment, outdated yet still certified by the state as being up to the task. Though in addition to overheating their equipment, the other problem is because they have outdated equipment, they could only run one race at a time, and they needed to do 3 statewide ballot measures to actually run for the machine recount. I don't even think they were able to get through one of them, let alone 3 of them.
So, Jim, what happens now that they weren't able to certify those results?
Under state law, what happens is that if they fail to meet the deadline for the recount, the numbers that they submitted last Saturday at noon, those are the numbers that will be counted for Palm Beach. Now, I put an asterisk next to that because we're still waiting to see how all of this shakes out in court. There are court cases at both the state level, the federal level, which are going to be designed to try to extend these recounts. A judge just a few minutes ago, a federal judge, said that he would not extend the deadlines for all 67 counties. He also, though, noted that the state was a laughingstock as a result of what it was doing, and he raised the notion that, in fact, the state's recount laws may actually violate the U.S. Supreme Court decision from 2000. So while he said that it may violate that court decision, he wasn't willing to extend the deadline as of today, but that could still change as he gets more information.
So what does that mean if this judge has said that it violates that Supreme Court law from back in 2002? What does it mean for the overall vote?
You know, that's the question
Jim,
that everyone is trying to figure out at this point. You know, this is one where we're getting contradictory rulings on a regular basis. This same judge extended the deadline till Saturday to allow Palm Beach County and other counties to match signatures on provisional ballots and certain absentee ballots to give voters a chance to challenge the decision not to count their vote. So I've lost track. There needs to be a matrix almost of court rulings and decisions and recounts. And right now it's all very confusing. Imagine for these candidates, it's also quite exasperating.
I can only imagine to be one of these candidates and the folks in the campaigns on this. You know, I want to go back to that judge who said today in court that, you know, election after election, Florida is a laughingstock of the whole world. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing what this judge had said. What's it going to take, Jim, for Florida to rethink how they conduct these, how they cast these ballots, their voting ballots? I mean, does Florida need a GoFundMe account to help with counting votes and ballots?
Yeah, maybe a GoFundMe account will be good. I'm sure the other 49 states will be more than willing to chip in just to avoid this embarrassment. There's a couple of things at play here. By the way, we redid this all after the 2000 debacle. So in 2000, when we had the hanging chads and the butterfly ballots and all the rest of it, they came out with new rules as to how the state should govern its elections. And they tried to put some of those rules into place. Here we are 18 years later, and suddenly, as Yogi Berra said, you know, it's deja vu all over again in Florida. So that's what we're having right now. It's, you know, the issue in Florida, as it's the same issue in every other state, is that we have decentralized elections. You know, if you remember a year ago, 2 years ago, we were talking about one of the great strengths of our election system is that Russia couldn't hack into our election system nationwide and change things because our election system is so diverse, it's spread out over every county across every state. So in Florida, 67 different counties control their own elections. Some do it better than others. Broward and Palm Beach has had a history of doing it poorly. Some of that is leadership, some of that is financing, but let's also face it, this was an extremely close election.
Yeah.
We were always going to come down to the narrowest of margins. A lot of times, these problems occur in every year, but when the margins are so large, you don't notice them. Now, when the margin is so close in these Senate race, the governor's race, other races, they get amplified 1,000,000 times over.
Yeah, that's such a great point, just how close the margin of, how close the votes are. But what's the likelihood, though, that when all of this is over, Jim, that the outcomes of any of these races are overturned? Do we have a sense?
I think we will know within a very short period of time that the governor's race is over, that Ron DeSantis will be the next governor of Florida. Andrew Gillum and everything that he has sort of put out has made it clear that he wanted every vote counted, but at the same time, he wasn't giving false hope to his supporters. I think his recount is going to come in at where they're going to be decided within 0.4 of 1 point is going to decide that race. That means there'll be no hand recount. Now, the Senate race and the state ag commissioner race here in Florida, but really what we care about, most people care about, is the Senate race between Bill Nelson and Rick Scott. That will go to a hand recount. And even though Bill Nelson right now has Bill Nelson is down by 12,000 points, even though he expresses optimism about that,
yeah,
I've never seen a recount ever turn around a difference of 12,000 votes. So I think that the chances is that Rick Scott will be the next senator, but we're going to have to go through this process and sort of see. And we'll know a lot more once we hear what Broward County reported to the state of Florida just less than a half an hour ago to see if those numbers actually change.
Jim DeFede, one of the smartest guys in politics. Jim, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.